I mean, you and I had the conversation last week, top of the season. We talked about what made Sarah Strong the best player in the country. And in that conversation, something that came up was, well, who can challenge Sarah Strong as the best player in the country? And Azzi Fudd's name come up because there are people out here who do believe that Azzi Fudd's name or Azzi Fudd is the best player in the country. So empirically, when you have two players who are in best player of the country conversations, obviously that has to be the best duo in the nation. So like, I don't want to, we're not here to challenge that. Maybe. But
yeah, seems like simple math there.
It seems like simple math. I teach math all day. It seems like if you've got two of the three best players in the country, you should have a top three, best duo, whatever. I don't know. But you're like, I would like to know from you. I told you before the show, I do have some comparisons I kind of want to make. I kind of sat on a little bit. I'd like to get your thoughts on it. But I want to hear from you first, though. Like, what is it about Sarah and Azzi together that makes them unique, that makes them different, and that makes it so that if they're not like definitively the best duo in the country, they're at the very least in the conversation as one of the best duos in the country?
A couple of things I will say. Number one, I'm not taking away from Azzi when I say this, but I am going to say this outright. The more we get to watch Sarah Strong on the basketball floor, each game that goes by in this sophomore season, which looks like she is about to just go National Player of the Year campaign on us this year. I saw Sarah Strong is the first player this century, so since the year 2001, to average 20 points, to average at least 25 and 5 through the first 4 games for UConn. I think it's becoming come on. I think it's becoming, I think this duo, like I started by saying, I'm not taking away from Azzi by saying this. The magnitude of this duo is becoming more and more powerful because of Sarah and her all-around abilities. Now, their combined abilities, I think, does make for probably the best duo in the country. And what I'll point to is the same thing I pointed to with their big three last year with Paige. The same thing applies, and even more so because Azzi's the strongest shooter out of the three. It's their combined shooting ability, bro. And shooting is the number one trait when you look at Azzi Fudd, of course. Not that that's the only thing she does well, because it's not, but that's what her game is kind of defined by, is her shooting ability, and her movement, and she has great feel too, and great awareness and hand-eye coordination. She's got that stuff too. But Sarah's impact on the entire game is just getting crazier and crazier. And so Sarah's ability as a complete all-around dual forward, 3-point shooting, passing, all-around dynamic threat as a forward, as a 6'2" forward, whatever, combined with what Azzi is as like just a lightning rod, lightning quick trigger shooter and great movement and spacer, and in that UConn system, yeah, that makes for probably the most lethal duo in the nation. But I will say again, I'm not taking away from Azzi by saying this, because Azzi, look, I don't know if people, I told you, I feel like, and again, I'm really not trying to make it sound like I'm an Azzi fan. I'm not trying to make it seem like I'm anti-Azzi or I don't, support her as one of the best players, because she is. But I don't know if so many people, especially with Sarah being her teammate, I don't think as many people are going to be vouching for Azzi Fudd as the best player in the country outright. I mean, I think it's known right now, if you're following women's college basketball, who the best player in the country is. And I don't think there's too many people trying to make that argument for Azzi right now. And that's not a knock on her. It's more about the greatness of Sarah and what we're seeing. So I think Azzi's brand, and I've said this to you, that's the interesting thing that I think is what we're looking at too, because I think Azzi has more of the brand. She's been in college more, but also like she's got the podcast, like her name's been out there more. So I almost feel like nationally, Azzi just has more of a fandom and a following, but it's known that Sarah's the better all-around player, right? So I don't think there's going to be any real friction there. I just think that's an interesting dynamic with this duo, because I think the real strength of the duo comes in the form of the one player who's the best player in the country, and Azzi, who's one of the best, yes. But the more Sarah's strengths are magnified, I don't know. It's kind of like the less you look at AZ as like her equal.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question. If you like, when we think about like some of the biggest what ifs in women's basketball history, more specifically like in women's college basketball, what's always the one that comes up first? Always.
The big what if?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I'm like, well, because there's a few that come to mind. I'm like, what if Caitlin went to UConn, or what if Elena Deladon went to UConn? There's like a handful that's like floating around my mind.
Dig deeper. It's a big one. There's big beef. Big
still beef. Candace and Geno.
What if Candace Parker went to UConn? Right. That is a conversation that everyone asks.
Okay.
I feel like we're seeing what happens if Candace Parker went to UConn in Sarah Strong. I remember when we were reacting to Candace Parker retiring, and the one thing that you kept mentioning is like Candace Parker, like what made her so great and why I thought she was the GOAT until number 22 in Las Vegas showed up is because she did everything, right? Like she was the quintessential do it all for. Like that's who Candace Parker was as a basketball player. And Sarah Strong is that. Like, she 25-5 for the first time in the first 4 games in UConn history. And you have to, like, and when you think about the names that have played for UConn, Paige, Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, Brianna Stewart, Nafisa Collier, like it is a who's who of women's basketball history. Yeah. Hall of Famers. Like I remember when they were at the national championship game and they had all these former players, and every lower third was like Hall of Famer, or they would say on the broadcast and future Hall of Famer. This is like a who's who of women's basketball. But like Sarah Strong, bro, is something that you and I have had a lot of conversations about, like unicorns and how special they are for women's basketball, both college and the W. But like I feel like Sarah is like a unicorn. Because I don't know how many players I've seen remind me of 2 different unicorns at the same time, right? So you got the Candace Parker, like the quintessential do-it-all. Like we have seen Sarah, post up. We've seen her hit mid-range shots. We've seen her run the floor. We've seen her facilitate out of the post, running the ball, like bringing the ball to the floor.
Passing. Did you see the passes against Ohio State? Did you see have you seen like the clips from that game? Have you?
I've seen a couple of clips from that game. Yes.
Bro, did you see any of those passes? Did you see the full court, like almost damn near full court bounce pass she made to Sarah Williams on the other end? Did you? The passing.
It's something we haven't seen. Yeah. But so there's the Candace Parker component. The other component of it that I think, and this is kind of where I think I'm interested to get your reaction to it, is you almost have in it as well a mixture of Brianna Stewart. Now, one thing you said about Stewie a lot is like Stewie was always kind of like a clunky, clumsy, kind of awkward. Like Stewie is not a physically dominant presence. Like she's not out here she has never been just out here physically overpowering girls. But Candace Parker, it wasn't until like later in Candace Parker's career where the perimeter aspect of her game really started becoming more prevalent, just because of various different things and like kind of how she was playing and the team she was playing with. But like the shooting ability for Sarah Strong to just pull up from the perimeter, catch and shoot, like second nature, and there's no hesitation, and you have to respect it. It's like the mixture of those.
What was my adjective for her shooting touch? What was my adjective?
Feathery. There's the feathery shooting touch.
Only certain people have the feathery.
There's only certain player that
only certain people. You can say nice, you can say soft, you can say feathery is a different level.
I look at Sarah Strong, and you're right. I'm inclined to agree with you that like maybe the reason why we look at Sarah and AZ as like the best duo in the nation is because of Sarah more so than AZ, not to disregard what AZ does, but like there are a lot of duos that we've seen, over time that kind of have that same vibe where like it's really just because of the individual greatness of this one player, but that doesn't take away from the individual greatness or individual eliteness of another player. I think from a like play style standpoint, they just mesh so well together. Like they mesh so well together. And I think one thing that I was interested in seeing out of them coming into the season is now that Paige is gone, because Paige was kind of the connector or like the glue to the two of them that kind of held them together and made that trio so interesting and so dangerous, is, well, what are they going to look like by themselves? And Sarah Strong still looks like Sarah Strong. Azzi
Look,
Fudd
she's
still looks like
better.
Azzi Fudd, and she's better.
That's the
But like,
thing. Yeah.
there's nothing like there's nothing where like obviously Sarah Strong is better than she was last year, but fundamentally, what Sarah Strong's game is today compared to what it was with when Paige was there hasn't changed. It is still the same game fundamentally, and we've seen sometimes where you have a big three, you take a player out, and then the two that are left, they don't click the same. But Sarah and Azzi are still clicking the same. They still look as dangerous. Like Azzi Fudd is still Azzi Fudd. She is still one of the better shooters in the country. Sarah Strong is still Sarah Strong. She is still the best player in the country. And defensively, when you have two players who are as good as they are, a player in Sarah Strong who is as versatile as she is on both sides of the ball, like how are you stopping that? I think then becomes the next question as to why I think they're the best, because they might just be the most unstoppable duo in the country, which is another layer of it too. Because generally when you're talking about the best duos in anything, they're duos that are downright unstoppable. And these two, I think, again, a lot to it because of the individual greatness of Sarah Strong. These two, I feel, are downright unstoppable.
And it has to do with that system. I'm just going to keep circling back to it because what you're talking about with them looking the same, it's because they're in the same system.
Mm-hmm.
It's because they're in the UConn system. It's the pitch and pop. It's the dribble handoff. It's read and react. It's that system, man. I'm telling you. That's what it goes back to the Kara Lawson point. Like, do I see an identity in how your teams are playing? And I always know UConn's going to be in that kind of system that really brings the most out of the abilities of players like Azzi and Sarah. It is no secret or coincidence. That's the foundation.
Before we get into our next segment, I just want to hit the comments real quick. Jeremy is here. What's up, Jeremy?
What up, Jeremy?
Jeremy says Sarah and Azzi are the two best players on the team. Yeah.
Oh man, we're about to get into a little bit more of that concept too in a second here, because there's a young lady from Ecuador who may have something to say about that if everybody's paying attention. What's up, UConn fans?
Then Jeremy says, I mean, we kind of already had that with Maya and Stewie. Paige is offspring of Diana. Sarah is the offspring of Stewie and Maya.
Yeah, and Maya, I was going to mention Maya because you have to throw in Maya when you talk shooting ability. And I think you did a good job of meshing like the different people that Sarah has kind of like reminded us of. But I think you sprinkle in the Maya more because the unicorns, she shoots better than I think all the unicorns. You mentioned how Candace, her perimeter game, like she wasn't always known as, she was never like a great 3-point shooter or anything,
but it came along over time.
She could step out and shoot. She could always shoot, honestly. She was always inside out, but yeah, that wasn't a staple of her game. Wasn't known as like a great shooter. Same with, Stewie's kind of the same. I would say maybe a little bit better shooter than Candace. Now, Sarah, what I look forward to seeing is if she expands even more what she does off the dribble, getting shots off, because that's where Maya was more of a guard, like off the dribble, getting shots off than Sarah is as a forward, where I think most of hers are like she'll hit you with the up fake one dribble, but I think a lot of her stuff is mostly like catch and shoot. What's wrong? Why are you reacting like that?
Just the thought of Sarah Strong developing an off the dribble. Is just
I know, right? Isn't it? I know.
Stop, bro.
I know. Listen, I told you. I think I said to you and Dan off stream recently, we were talking. One of the things I'm looking for with Sarah, one of the only things that, it's not something you can get better at, but just in terms of her, her body and just like her game ultimately is, does she work on changing her body some to become more athletic? If that happens, like imagine if she's out there athletically looking more like the Blanca girl. like imagine if she, right? And I'm not saying she should or has to. Sure. I think she's perfectly great as she is. She could probably go to the W right now and cook. But I'm thinking about ways that she might develop, right? Like, man, that version of her, like imagine if she goes through the Asia kind of, transformation kind of progression with her body and just like toning down a little bit, like, whew, man, I don't know what would that look like?